I surely do like this church.
Well, actually, Kit, we call it a congregation, and I hope it has something for everyone.
I like the building. It seems so open and airy.
Yes, our early members put a lot of effort into selecting this place, designing the building, and physically constructing it.
Boy, am I grateful to them. I'm glad I don't have to do the work.
Well, truthfully, the work is never done. We still have a mortgage to pay off, and our beautiful UU Center is 10 years old. It needs continuing maintenance and repairs. We also need to make room as the congregation grows.
Does the congregation need to grow?
Well, I think there's mixed feelings on that. People like the intimacy of a small group, but realize that more members means more programs, more people for social justice work, and more income. As Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. And much needs to be done.
By so much needs to be done, do you mean social and political change? That's what I care about most.
Well, the federal law doesn't allow churches to engage in electoral politics, but our members do. The church as a whole bears witness to the importance of the fifth principle, democratic process, and the sixth principle, world peace in all of society.
All 7 principles call us to action.
You know, when we first put it up, I thought the Black Lives Matter sign was no big deal. The continuing vandalism against the sign shows that it is an important social statement. This area is fairly conservative, making this congregation's message even more important. A lone voice in the pines, as it were. I think it's critical for us to make room for as many like-minded people as we can find.
Surely it would be easier to recruit volunteers for environmental issues like climate change or clean water.
Well, it is important to find common ground with our surrounding community. Our church can take the lead on environmental issues, or we can follow someone else's lead, as the men's group does in the soup kitchen. What matters is that we move forward.
How can we be more effective in creating political and social change? I feel so lonely in some of the conservative communities around here.
I know how you feel, but certainly being here is a big start. The 2 resources that make social action effective are volunteers and money. It's tough to compete with big money, but elected officials listen to many voices. No social justice or political activity will be effective unless members band together to support it with their time, talent, and yes, their money. For our congregation to do more outreach, we must be confident that our main budget is funded.
Back to the building. How should our building change? It seems pretty nice as it is.
How big can you dream, Kit? If, as a congregation, we agree that we need more people, we need to resolve issues such as parking. But imagine building a separate fellowship hall, perhaps over there. I know our staff can imagine offices above ground. Maybe we'll bump out right here. Plus, our wonderful sound crew will tell you we need improved audiovisual and improved internet capacity to better serve our current and future members.
So this beautiful building is not a finished work of art? Can we borrow more money to make the changes?
Well, up until now, our congregation's main focus has been on this building. It took a considerable commitment to build, leaving us a little house poor. But we're within striking distance of retiring our mortgage in maybe the next 5 years or so. And there are some improvements, such as the parking I mentioned and the improved sound system, that we need to invest in now. But we want to avoid future debt if we can. One way or another, whatever changes we make, members need to pay for them.
By members, you mean me, right?
I do, Kit. And actually, I mean all of us. I mean, there's no mother church coming to bail us out. We are responsible for ourselves, but that way we get to decide what's important to us.
Another thing I like is the music program. Singing together really stirs the soul, doesn't it?
Well, it's actually proven that singing releases endorphins, which give you that good feeling. So when you sing with others, joy comes from all the voices of the congregation coming together. It's always been important to any faith community.
Our music director does a fine job of finding and performing music that provides a religious experience.
Well, Barbara is our longest term member, having attended the very first meeting to establish this place, as well as our longest serving staff member. Our music director, administrator of religious education, director, and bookkeeper, and all our paid staff, along with our reverend, all deserve our financial support and, of course, our thanks. This, along with our volunteers, is what makes this place go.
So there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Time, talent, and treasure. Those are the three ways to pay it forward. We are a generous group, but it takes commitment of all three to make this work.
What I really like is how members make everyone feel welcome.
This is something we hear a lot. A welcoming space with welcoming people. If you're happy and you know it, tell a visitor. Some visitors have never found a welcoming community. It's important to recognize and welcome people you don't know. It's part of how we grow, not just as a community, but as individuals.
You mean that I can't just sip my coffee and talk to the friend that arrives with me?
Well, of course you can. But we all come for connection. How were you welcomed when you first came? People take a chance coming here. Some have faced a sense of unwelcomeness elsewhere in their lives, a feeling only magnified if they have felt marginalized because of race, class, sexual orientation, politics, or some other perceived difference.
Well, okay, but I also like how the congregation accepts people with differing beliefs.
Well, of course, that means you must show acceptance as well. I think one of our most important missions is teaching our children not just tolerance, but acceptance of a wide variety of beliefs. I'm currently enjoying teaching Hinduism to our middle-aged children. Last month it was Islam, and the month before that it was Quakerism. The lessons we are learning is that all faith traditions have something to teach us. That's a huge part of who we are as UUs.
Well, I recognize their rights, but fundamental Christians don't belong here.
I have a really good friend who's a fundamentalist Christian, and she would not find what she needs here. But her work in building the Fusion Church is tremendous. That faith community, they don't share all of our values, but they do provide similar services and good works. For instance, the comfort a rigid belief system brings to some people in a 12-step program helps them become sober and to survive. I see our job as radically reminding all faith traditions of the golden rule, that if we truly come from a place of love and acceptance, no one need feel marginalized. We have a responsibility to recognize everyone as a seeker of truth with inherent worth and value. Our community is unique because we deliver a faith community experience without the rigid dogma. And just as important, we teach love and acceptance to our youth.
Oh, all right. Just as long as they don't have to talk to any Trump supporters.
Interesting. I find as I tell people I support the Black Lives Matter movement, they invariably say, well, don't all lives matter? This is an opening for a dialogue. Another beautiful thing about this community is improving my ability to converse with that person. I think many Trump supporters feel hatred that comes from fear. Easing those fears with even a tiny bit of understanding can help move people towards love. Typical Trump supporters probably wouldn't feel comfortable here, but we don't want to push them away. We want to be a model of acceptance, even when we disagree. The benefit of acting that way accrues to you as it does to them.
They probably would not like the sermons. The one we had last week was a real barn burner. It really made me think about how I relate to other people in my community.
Sunday messages are certainly a central feature of our worship and who we are. Most of them derive from work our minister and members have done in their search for truth and meaning. We try to get most members to attend a Sunday service every 4 or 5 years or so.
You mean that I have to give a sermon soon?
Well, aren't you doing just that, kid? Shh. No one is going to make
Stay and roll, Paul.
No one is going to make you give a service. But we do have an expectation that you are putting up enough effort into your own search that you will find something worth sharing with the congregation.
Can't we rely on the Reverend Dawn to provide all the sermons?
Well, there are several limitations to that idea. One is it's very hard for anybody to be profound 52 times a year. Another is that relying completely on the Reverend would deny us the results of searches that other members have made. Yet another is that we simply employ the Reverend only 80% of the time. They might be able to present Sunday service message more often if we were to increase their contract to 100%.
I would like that. Why don't we do that?
Well, our reverend is a master's level professional, and the work of ministry should be compensated fairly. We don't collect enough in contributions every year to increase the minister's contract to full time. If everyone were to increase their annual pledge just 10%, that would be enough to generate income to make our minister full time.
Surely there are rich members who can cover the difference without me digging deeper into my pocket.
Well, yes, we have some members with higher incomes. Most of them already contribute more than the rest of us. If we as a congregation want to up our game, we must all pull our weight.
So I should consider all the value I get from this congregation when I consider my pledge this year. You opened my eyes to benefits that I did not previously recognize.
Not just the value of the congregation as it exists now. Consider looking to the future. Our strategic plan will call for a larger membership with more stable finances, better programs, and more opportunities to become involved. As you help us grow and develop, the church will become more meaningful to you.
Strategic plan? What's that?
Nothing in life can stay the same without changing. People are born, people die, people move, people's expectations change as time moves on. Even if you like what we're doing now, doing it without change forever will surely result in failure.
So the church is making plans for the future?
Exactly. We don't try to predict the future, but we try to adapt to the patterns we understand.
What are some of those patterns?
Well, for instance, as people become more electronically connected, they expect us to communicate with them in that way. For example, we notify people of church meetings by email and text messages now, as opposed to sending physical letters. Placing Sunday service on our website is another good example of what we do now. Setting up live internet stream of our service in real time might be what we want to do in the future.
Won't that hurt attendance at the Sunday services?
Churches that broadcast their service on the radio find in long term that it builds attendance and membership. Maybe live streaming would work that way for us. If you don't like that idea, don't worry. It's not in our current plans. Members can become involved in the strategic planning effort by talking to you or me after service.
If I become involved in creating a vision for our future, I might like the church that results from the effort even more than I like the one we have now?
We hope that's true for every current member and every future member of our congregation. Consider that potential when you make your pledge as well.
That's our take-home lesson. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, and others.
Thank you all.